China's militarization of BRICS risks U.S. sanctions, analysts. Beijing is exploiting recent joint naval maneuvers by BRICS nations to transform the bloc into a military one, a provocative shift that signals a direct challenge to Washington and could trigger punitive tariffs against member states, experts warn. Navies from China, Russia, and other BRICS nations launched the Will for Peace 2026 drills at the Simonstown Naval Base in South Africa on January 9, initiating a joint operation that continues through January 16. Led by Beijing, the drills were framed as a way to deepen military exchanges and address maritime threats, according to a statement released by the Chinese Ministry of National Defense on January 12. This latest military display marks a distinct shift in tone compared to the inaugural MOSI exercises held by South Africa, China, and Russia in 2019, which were conducted in a much more subdued manner. The BRICS alliance, which now comprises China, Russia, Brazil, India, South Africa, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, Ethiopia, Indonesia, and Iran, centers its agenda on cementing economic and social cooperation while amplifying the Global South's voice in international governance. China's ploy. However, Chun-Chin Mo, an associate professor at the Department of Diplomacy and International Relations at Tamkang University in Taiwan, pointed out that the group is moving beyond that original economic design, having gradually expanded into military cooperation under the leadership of Communist China. With Russia continuing its war against Ukraine and Iran remaining a key adversary of the United States and Israel in the Middle East, the drills send a clear signal of China's support for both Russia and Iran and reflect trilateral strategic coordination, Chung told the Epoch Times. Chung noted that the drills were staged off the coast of Cape Town because the region straddles the strategic junction of the Atlantic and Indian Oceans, allowing Beijing to project influence over vital shipping lanes as part of its broader global expansion strategy. As U.S. President Donald Trump moves to tighten control over the Panama Canal and curb Chinese influence, Beijing is seeking to open another front in South Africa to divert U.S. attention and compete with Washington geopolitically, said Chung. Yet, in a move reportedly aimed at avoiding backlash, Pretoria asked Iran to withdraw its warships from active drills to serve solely as observers following Trump's threat to penalize nations engaging with Tehran over its lethal suppression of protesters, per African Press Agency. Reflecting a similar stance of diplomatic caution, reports from Chinese state media regarding the exercises also conspicuously omitted any mention of Iran. Chung observed that this approach reveals Beijing's reluctance to face a direct confrontation with Washington, leading it to instead provide support to Iran in a low-profile manner. Especially while the trade war with the U.S. remains unresolved, China must maintain its relationships with the rest of the world, which is why it deliberately downplayed Iran's role in the drills and concealed it in state media, Chung stated. However, since everyone knows that many of Iran's drones and weaponry originate from the Chinese Communist Party, such despicable tactics will not easily fool anyone. Limited capabilities. According to a Facebook post by the South African National Defense Force, the exercises featured the Chinese Navy's guided missile destroyer Tongshan and supply ship Taihu, alongside the South African Navy frigate Amatola and a frigate and supply ship from Russia's Baltic Fleet. Nevertheless, Richard Cho Yuping, a member of the Evaluation Center Committee at Taiwan's National Defense Industrial Development Foundation, dismissed the maneuvers as largely performative. China's Tongshan and Taihu are not its most advanced vessels, and while the Taiwanese Navy previously deployed 2 warships paired with 1 supply vessel for training missions in South Africa, China's configuration for this exercise is clearly simpler, meaning the drills carry more declarative significance than substantive military value, Cho told the Epoch Times. Su Tsuyun, a senior analyst from Taiwan's Institute for National Defense and Security Research in Taipei, stated that the Tongshan appears to be the most combat-capable vessel in the group, signaling Beijing's intent to lead the BRICS nations, but its naval force still cannot rival the US-led NATO fleet. Even in Northeast Asia, China cannot guarantee victory against the U.S. 7th Fleet or the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, so its warships can only be described as being in a preparatory phase where the main goal is simply to gain experience through joint drills, Su told the Epoch Times. Threatening U.S. security. Tsai Ming-fong, a professor at the Department of Industrial Economics at Tamkang University in Taiwan, emphasized that as many BRICS nations currently face economic instability or require Chinese support, they may utilize these military exercises to pursue deeper economic integration with Beijing, a move that will likely draw closer attention from the United States and potentially prompt further countermeasures. Deepening economic ties with China after these drills will inevitably pull these nations into a tighter political orbit with Beijing, inviting U.S. backlash and potential sanctions if Washington's national security interests are threatened, Tsai told the Epoch Times. As G7 sanctions on Russia accelerate BRICS' de-dollarization agenda, Trump has previously labeled such efforts as anti-American policies and warned he would impose a 10% tariff on any country aligning with the bloc. Ching stated that Beijing is utilizing these drills to elevate BRICS from an economic bloc to a security alliance, a shift that has forced the group back onto Trump's radar and will inevitably lead Washington to view the organization through a national security lens. India sought to preserve its U.S. ties by dispatching only low-level personnel, while South Africa risks sanctions as the host, Ching said. However, Washington may soon target the entire bloc with tariffs now that any collaboration with China, Iran, and Russia raises immediate red flags.